Hey, Mr. Litt, can you hear me? We might not be able to go live on YouTube. I don't have I'm at home and I don't have the credential stuff here. So I'm just letting you know I can upload it following the meeting. Okay.
There we go. Hello.
Hi, Janet.
How are you? Trying to get this. I'm on my iPad trying to get this with.
I can ask you to start your video.
Oh.
Oh, did you get it?
There I am.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Where's everybody else?
We've got Kim Regan here, Marguerite here, and Amy Yazdani is here.
Okay. Somehow I can't. I'm on my iPad. Sorry. I'm just trying to get everybody to show up. Oh, here we go.
And Kim, I got your email. I'm going to respond to you. There's a reason, and I think you'll like the reason. But the main thing is that the kids aren't in school yet. So we didn't know what their commitments were going to be if they wanted to volunteer. So that's the main reason. So we called August a soft launch, and we're just trying to spread it through word of mouth before we kind of go into full advertising mode. So there's kind of a plan. Doesn't seem like it, but there is, I promise.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss something.
What was the question?
It was just about the launch of our Tuesday tech time.
Oh, okay.
I can tell you the word of mouth thing we didn't have any attendees the first session. So, but nowhere to go but up.
No. Put this up on something.
Okay. We're waiting for David.
Yes, and I just want to note, I don't think David will really care. I already told Mr. Litt, who's in the attendees, we are not going to be able to go live on YouTube because I'm at home and I don't have the credentials.
Hi, David. You're trying to get on, right? Okay.
I muted her. I did email Jason, so if Jason gets back to me, I'll try to.
That didn't work. It's not going to work either.
Sorry, I guess David tried to call me too. Hi, Jane.
Hi there.
How's the garden look, Ryan?
Good. I think you will be hopefully pleasantly surprised, but I think we knew Freddie was gonna do a good job. So that
It looks
is,
good. It looks really good.
Yeah.
And if it would stop raining and give us some sun, that'd.
I know that has been, I was actually really concerned about the rain out there, but it seems like it's been okay.
Are you supposed to get sun today?
The next few days are supposed to be okay.
Like hot, isn't it?
Yeah, hot, but no more, I don't think any more rain.
No. Oops, I'm looking at Maine.
Wishful.
90, 91 and pure sun.
They'll like that.
And don't forget the high humidity.
Oh,
No, I
it is
mean,
up
the
here too.
plants will like it. I mean, we
Yeah,
would.
exactly.
Oh, this is kind of embarrassing. I had the password the whole time. It's giving me a security block though, because it doesn't recognize my computer.
Right.
We were that close to going live on YouTube, everyone. While I don't know, sorry to volunteer you, Jane. I don't know if while we're waiting for Marguerite to help David get on, do you want to, we could call the meeting to order because,
I can read this. Is that what you're gonna ask me? This-
yeah, we could do that if you like, just so that we can get going. Is that okay with you, Marguerite?
She's talking.
Not
to
listening.
David.
You have to call the meeting to order first, Jane, then read it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the meeting of the Library Board of Trustees on August 24th, 2021, 11 a.m. via remote participation will come to order at 11:06. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL 30, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Library Board of Trustees will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with the right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Towns of Southborough's website, southborough.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so in the following manner: southborough.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. The meeting shall come to order.
Well done, Jane.
It's long. Good. So the first order of business says review and approve minutes of meeting of July 20th. Did everyone have a chance to look at that?
Mhm.
Any corrections, edits? No? Does someone move to accept the minutes of meeting July 20th?
I'm the only one on here, so I'll move to accept the meeting.
Thank you. Janet Maney moves to accept the minutes of meeting July 20th, and I second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Davis, aye. Landry,
Aye.
Maney, aye.
Reagan,
Regan,
Regan, sorry. Yastani?
Yes, Donnie, aye.
Okay, the minutes have been approved.
Hi, now can I, thank you, Jane, for that. David can't get on, Ryan. I don't know whether you want to help him out or what. I've tried both with, and he and his wife are both trying to deal with it. Both the link that you sent and also the link that I sent him yesterday and again today on the town website where you go in under the blue Zoom, and he can't seem to get it to work. What's our, What are our
I
options?
mean, we could keep going with the meeting or we can try to help him get on.
Let's keep
We're
going
gonna
with the
have to take,
meeting.
we're gonna have to take probably a significant time out to try to get him on.
Okay, let's,
Um,
and for next time, let's get David on at 1/4 of. How's that?
Or,
He's-
you know, Marguerite, if he can, I mean, I'm doing this from home now, so
Yeah.
I know I've offered to have him do it at the library, if he could like go over to your house or something, I don't know.
All right,
if-
maybe we'll try that next time. We'll figure it out, but I don't want to waste time. I think we have hopefully a hard stop at 12:20 today. I think that's if we can get everything done by then, and we have 3 fairly important matters to deal with. Ryan, do you want to start with the director's report?
Why don't we start with an agenda item really quick? Do you want to go into what the teen librarian position update was? Because Marguerite has noted that is a more substantial discussion now, because we got a notice of retirement for one of our full-time employees yesterday. So,
Right, and so the teen librarian position becomes paramount right now because we don't have the job description approved by personnel or into the SAP, but we're trying to hire that person basically as soon as possible, like at the end of September, beginning of October. So that, I think that jumps out to me as something that we should talk about right now.
The teen
I don't see
librarian
the
job
harm in doing
description,
things ahead of time, but
I
anyway.
did a bunch of edits on it too, on that job description, unless someone else has already done that. I had some, but it doesn't mean we need to take time in the meeting to go over all of that. I could just email
Didn't we
it.
pass it?
yeah,
we did in January.
So
Uh,
why
I
don't
did
we just, Ryan, why don't you explain what your plans are for the hiring that's gonna be happening, and the teen job description, we cannot hire a teen librarian because this job description is not part of the SAP as we.
Well,
as we
I'm gonna
voted
have
on it.
I'm gonna have a discussion with the chair of the personnel board tomorrow at 10:30 in the morning on what our options on what we can and cannot do in the short term. So Pat Ellis is going to be leaving the library on October 1st to retire. We do not currently have a teen librarian position in the SAP. The kind of the rough plan was to hire a teen librarian once we had a retirement. And now that that's happening, definitely, I am going to ask the personnel chair, what is the, is there the potential to add the position into the SAP for the fall town meeting? So we're asking pretty late in the game for this, but we did already talk to them about this last year. So I'm hoping that this isn't really a surprise. They wanted us to come back when we knew someone was going to retire. So at this point, we know that. So there is an existing job in the SAP under grade 5, which is titled children's librarian. So that was Kim Ivor's old position. So I don't know. I mean, I think we wanted this person's title to be teen librarian versus children's librarian so that it was a little bit more clear. But I can tell you, we could immediately hire a new children's librarian. So I have to talk to them about either adding or changing the existing position. So I'll probably come back to you guys with September. Sort of the sad news, I guess, is that we may have to have additional meetings about this, because I don't know if we're going to end up having to do a joint meeting with personnel, or at this point, I don't know. I need to talk to Betsy tomorrow. So that's just kind of the update, I guess, on this. But I guess to get guidance from the board, is it okay with you if I ask Betsy if we can add the teen librarian position to the SAP for the fall town meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we need to
Okay with
just sort of
me.
take a sense of the, yeah,
Do we need to vote?
why don't we
Well,
just vote so
Janet,
that
did you
we
have something you
voted?
wanted to say?
Me?
Yeah.
So I guess what you're probably going to end up hearing back is that you can only hire a position that's approved, because you don't want to wait until after the town meeting to do this. So I guess the thing that would be important is to see if the skills and qualifications you want to hire overlap enough so that you could hire somebody in the children's librarian position, but change it to teen librarian when the position's approved. So that lets you go ahead with hiring, but yet, get what you want.
Correct. I agree.
So I guess
Unfortunately, though, postings, I think, attract different populations to apply for teen versus children's, but hopefully there'll be someone
We'll
in
see.
there.
Yeah,
Well,
I
and you
would,
can discuss your plans in interviewing.
Right.
You can say, well, I guess that would be the question. Maybe can you post it both ways or something to give people who are interested in applying the idea that it is probably going to change. Talk
and-
about that with Betsy, maybe.
Yeah, the other element of this is the amount of salary increase. And I think as Ryan and I calculated it, it's going to be approximately exactly what Pat is now making, except it'll be $2,800 a year more.
okay, so I did math on that. If we, so this is kind of very preliminary because we don't even have candidates yet. What I can tell you is if we offer the person in whatever position we hire, and it's a full-time librarian position, so it's either semantically take your choice, teen librarian or children's librarian. If we offer them $28 an hour, then what they will be making is almost equivalent to what Pat made. It has a difference of 380, it's just under $384
Oh, that's
More.
even better. Okay.
for the librarian position. So it would depend on if we want to try to get the person more money. I would say we're going to have to, if we want to hire somebody now, which is what Kim and I talked about this yesterday, Kim Ivers and I talked about this yesterday, we would prefer to hire somebody as soon as possible. So that is kind of the goal with this. So I think it's likely the salary is going to be $28 an hour. I can tell you, because that's what we have budgeted for this year.
So that's good news, basically.
Was Pat's position a lower ranked position than children's?
Yes.
Okay.
And so we just, and I can sit down with any of you and go over the numbers, but the position that we're going to hire has more hours. It's by 2 a week. So we're hiring a 40-hour-a-week position and Pat worked 38. So Pat does make more than $28 an hour, but we can only pay the person $28 an hour to offset the additional hours. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
And if there is a question about additional benefits, yes, the person will get additional benefit accruals at 2 hours per week, which is a nominal difference, but I'm happy to get more information from Brian Valentine if you want me to follow up. Again, I think we're going to try to hire somebody as soon as we can based on what we can do in the SAP, and then $28 an hour is likely the salary I can offer a full-time. The minimum for a grade 5 is $26.07 an hour. So it would depend on the person's qualifications, but I would just say we'd like to get somebody with a level of experience. And there was a lot of talk for half the board who was here when we previously hired the assistant director, who was upset that she got hired at the minimum grade based on her experience. So that is in the back of my mind, I think, as far as, and I also don't want to have a big budget deficit at the end of the year either. I don't want to have a sorry, not a deficit, a surplus. I don't want to have additional salary money. So if we can hire somebody, a full-time professional librarian, at roughly the same rate that we pay Pat now, that would be ideal.
So when are you going to place the ads, Ryan?
Once I talk to Betsy, I'll be able to move forward. I may have to ask you guys to potentially meet very quickly next week just to talk about this so that I can move on it. So I don't know if that is a possibility, if the board is willing to entertain a quick meeting.
It's
Sure.
fine with me, yeah. Is this gonna be an interview process, which will be like it was with Aileen, where the board sits in on the interview, or are you gonna handle the whole thing?
I will be handling the interviews
All
for
right,
this one,
okay,
but I will probably be doing this with Kim at all steps, and then another town official. So in the past, Vanessa Hale has helped us with the interview process. We
Mhm.
may also engage with the Director of Youth and Family, the Director of Recreation. We've had different people sit in on interviews before, but
okay.
we like to kind of talk about different, honestly, I think we've had a very significant partnership with Recreation. We're looking at bringing a lot of our programming outside. A lot of this job, whatever it's called, is going to probably have some programming components. So
Okay.
that might be a good fit. I'll have to see who's available to help us interview. So
Okay, it sounds like you've got it under control. So we can sort of look forward to meeting next week briefly at some point when you've found out what personnel has to say.
yeah, and I can send an update to the board as well after my conversation. And then we can kind of plan on if there needs to be a meeting in the short term after that.
Okay,
But
it sounds good.
there's going to be a couple meetings, especially we might have to do appointments for some of the new part-time people too. So it's going to be a heavy meeting month. Hopefully quick meetings if we need to just do one thing at a time.
Well, whatever you need to help you do your job is what we're here for, so there it is. At your
Is
disposal.
that good with everybody as a plan to move forward though? Okay, because during the initial hire for the assistant director, there was a large gap for the people who were here in not having a sixth full-time person. And that really put a strain on everybody who was working, including myself. So I would prefer to avoid that if there's a short interim period where while we're working out hiring the new person and we have to kind of tighten our belts with staffing for a little while. And I'm hoping that we'll have the new part-time people in place, but I just want to remind you they'll be brand new. And Pat was one of the people who helped me train staff. So that's all in the back of my mind too. I'm definitely going to have to make myself more available to do that.
And I'd
So-
suggest also look for at the possibility of an internal hire, internal promotion, just.
We
keep that in mind.
will be letting internal staff members know that the position is available for them to
Good,
apply to.
right, good.
Ryan, I don't know how long it'll take you to find the teen librarian you want. And I don't think it's something that we should necessarily rush, but I understand wanting to have enough full-time employees so everyone doesn't get crunched. Is it a possibility to use something like bibliotemps for like a full-time temp to buy you some time if needed?
So when Aldo was town council, we had Aldo review the bibliotemps contract because we wanted to use it during the last time we had staff members out for an extended period. Aldo, I don't know if I still have it. Aldo did render an opinion. He had about 3 pages of notes that were concerns about the contract. I went back to the bibliotemps manager at the Mass Library System. They said that they do not modify the contract under any circumstances and that they would not entertain any changes. So based on that, we ended up hiring temporary part-time help at that time. And I'm happy to say those ended up becoming permanent employees, which we were, fingers crossed, we were hoping the investment we made in those people, we'd be able to retain them. But that was sort of, we ended up having to kind of do it ourselves, Kim, and it ended up taking a lot more time to try to coordinate that. And just to your point, trying to get the new person in place as soon as possible, there should be a distinction that we're not going to rush that process. So even though our aim is to try to get them in place and do it as soon as possible, what I would say, if they want to make us wait until like FY23 before we hire a full-time person, that probably isn't going to work. So what I want to try to do is talk to Betsy about a short-term plan. And I don't know if there's a possibility that we can hire like a temporary children's librarian and then transition that person into then a job that gets added to the SAP at a later time. So again, I don't want to conject what the personnel board is going to kind of let us do here. But I think if we if we explain the situation and then try to chart a path forward, I think we'll find a way to go that
Okay.
works for everybody.
Are all
Sounds
the other professional level people stable in their employment? I mean, are we gonna look at another person leaving at any point that you know of?
I can't,
You can't say.
we would have been having different discussions with personnel in December and January if we
Mhm.
knew Pat was gonna retire this year. So I
We
don't
would have
know if
pushed
that's,
for the job description, getting
Yeah.
into the SAP
Hmm.
for the town meeting, yeah. Well, there it is. Okay, water under the bridge. That sounds like it's under control. If there are any other questions about that, or just that we'll wait to hear back from you after you talk to personnel.
yeah,
Okay, and,
let's do, is that okay with everybody? All right.
okay, good, right.
Mhm.
So moving right along, anything else in the director's report?
That's not even the director's report, really. I guess that's the hiring update a little bit, because we're
Okay.
gonna have to then post and hire this position.
All
So
right.
I can tell you, my focus is in hiring the part-time people, which we just started in the past couple weeks. So I don't want to be trying to hire part-time people and a full-time people at the same time. So I'm gonna try to finish up the part-time hires. We have
Mhm.
I'm happy to say, we have some applicants, and I'm hoping that in the September meeting, we can either schedule a special meeting to do the appointments, or we can do the appointments as part of the regular meeting. So I think the appointments will probably be kind of ready to go at the next regular meeting.
We have
'Cause
to
we're
do that
doing-
before they can start working, correct?
Yeah, we're doing an initial round of interviews for early applicants this week, and then we're doing additional interviews the week of September 8th, because Kim is on vacation next week, so Kim Ivers. So I have to kind of plan around Kim being here, and we're trying to get the candidates interviewed as much as possible. So I think the plan really is to try to do some of the initial interviews this Thursday on August 26th, and then to look at additional interviews Wednesday, September 8th. But it depends on the availability of the candidates. So I can tell you, some people are already scheduled for the 26th, and some people are already scheduled for the 8th. So I think altogether right now, I have 6 formal candidates. So there's
That's
a couple
great.
people who are asking questions, and I have to follow up with them, so.
And how many positions, Ryan?
We can hire, so I posted for 2 associates and 2 5 pages rather. So it was 7 altogether, but it is likely, depending on the number of associate positions we have, some of our current staff have asked for reductions in their schedule because they work other jobs. So there's a potential that we might be able to hire 3 associates at this point, looking at the schedule. And I don't think we'd go over 5 for the pages. So it might be a maximum of like 8. It's a significant number because we have a significant number of people leaving right now.
And they
So-
all need training. That's the other part of it, right?
Yes, but Leah and I have come up with a plan, and Kim has been out sick this past week, but we've been in communication, and we're involving her in the plan as much as she feels up to talking about it. We're gonna loop her in when she's back. So
Sounds good. Okay. Other questions from the board? Nope. Sounds like you've got it under control, even though it's a lot on your plate with the staffing right now, but.
oh, we're not done. lots of stuff.
Okay.
So very quickly, I just want to give you, I know if any of you want to come in and talk to me in my office, we just finished the painting. That was the first piece that got painted. So if you want to see the amazing ability of our facilities team, come in and see my office. It is a mess right now. I have not had time to kind of reorganize everything. So I apologize. If we need to meet, taking meetings in the teen room. That's what's happening right now. That way we've got coverage and I can talk to you guys. So that's been working. Jason Montijo from the IT department has been very helpful. We got David coming in too. Can we note the time at 11:28?
Yeah.
I hope he hasn't been sitting there. I've been, once I get on a roll, right? Then just to notify the board, we don't ever like sit down and hash out the ERIS report. I think you guys Oh, I said, if you want a copy of Eris, please email me and I'll send it to you. But basically our statistical report for the year is done. I thought specifically of you, Jane, because if I did this as an attachment, the attachment for Eris is 22 pages. And I feel like you would have been like, hey, Ryan, that's a lot of pages to send in addition to all the other meeting materials. And you are right, 22 pages is a lot. So Marguerite and I need to sign that. I'm going to do a spot check of it tonight, and then I'm pretty sure it's done. So are we all familiar with what Eris is? Do you guys know? Okay. If you don't, I'm happy to sit with you and we can go over it. But if you don't know what it is, email me and ask me to send you a copy of it, and I'm happy to do that. So it's basically our annual state statistic report. And then next month, I've got to work on our financial report. That's much smaller, but that basically talks about like how much money we spend on books. These two documents help determine how much state aid the library gets every year. So other than the other big thing in the director's report, there's a couple of fundraiser notes and grant notes. Amy, Kim and I talked about the SCF grant yesterday. Other than attaching the budget and just switching the grant account on my name to her name, I think we are like ready to go. So Kim and I are planning to submit the SCF grant this week, I believe, if we have everything done. I think she wants me to proof it as well. So if we can, if there's time, so that'll get submitted. That was for a graphic novel boot camp, we're calling it. And then I think I know the Cultural Arts Council is meeting this week, and then they're having to approve a new grant. I think it's like grant online form. So I'll be able to do that. If you have any questions about the Friends fundraiser, you can let me or Kim know, and we're happy to pass along any feedback. We're going to be selling the fudge stuff for them to pick up at Heritage Day at the library. So I wanted to notify you guys of that. We've sold things on behalf of the Friends, and we've sold Rotary, helped Rotary with selling tickets for the talent show in the past. So we kind of have a rough system in place. We're going to have an envelope where we can make change and kind of go from there.
Oh, Ryan, just quickly, Kim Larkin is a new name to me. Why is she so kindly volunteered to help us raise money for a Celtic history program? It sounds great.
No, that's a grant. So we're gonna, the grant is to
I
pay
mean, right,
Kim
the grant,
Larkin.
right.
Yeah, the grant is to pay Kim Larkin to provide the program. She's not doing it for free.
Oh, got it. Okay, so she's the person running the program. Okay, thanks.
The big piece I need feedback from, and then we can move on from the director's report, is we have a resident who would like to donate a piano. So I have tentatively said that we are interested. They're going to pay for delivery. But one of the things I wanted to note is the piano is not tuned, and I would have to investigate finding a piano tuner and then probably come back to the board with a potential cost for that.
Why do we want a piano in the library?
Why do we want a piano in the library?
Why not? I mean, we could do programs where the piano gets played. We could have
Where are you
music.
going to put it?
I'd like to have it upstairs if I think we can find a place.
And keeping people from banging it all day?
We can explore, if that becomes a problem, we can explore a locking
It will become a
mechanism.
problem, I'm telling you. I've been places where there's pianos. People can't walk by them without banging. And by the way, tuning gets really expensive. And if people are banging on it all the time, it's going to be a lot of money.
The cover, there is a cover, I believe, for the keys on this particular piano.
And that could be lockable.
Yeah, we probably could put locks on it. I could probably talk to John about it. So I can't guarantee anything until I see it. I haven't physically seen the piano yet, but I'm hearing some concerns. So if this is something that the board is concerned about, I'm happy to put a kibosh on this, because I said I'm interested, I haven't said yes.
Well, I think it's important to know, is it an old crummy piano or a good piano? And I guess I like the idea of a piano in the library because I think it'd be wonderful with the kids programs for starters. but, and we can lock you can put the key cover down and lock it, but I just wonder, have you seen a photo of it or anything, Ryan?
Yeah, I can pass along the photo to the board.
What
Okay,
did it look like? Did it look new?
It doesn't look brand new, but it doesn't look like it's in disrepair either. It's
How about
not,
this?
it's not a grand piano too. It's not,
it's an upright.
It's an
Upright.
upright?
I think
Yeah.
you'd need to have someone, either have them submit a report that shows it's in good working order, or have someone assess that too, because I also think this is probably gonna open the floodgates. I have a piano that I'd love to have moved off to somebody else who'd want it. I think there's tons of people whose kids have grown and they still have that old piano in the living room. So,
Well, do we want a trustee to be, to be the piano investigation person?
Kim, were you gonna say something?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I echo what many of you are already saying. I guess my biggest concern is where it would be, because there's not a lot of delineation in the rooms upstairs. So when it's played, you could probably hear it from everywhere. And maybe that's the intent, but I guess I would like to see more of a plan on the benefit it would provide the library before we take on something like this. And as others have mentioned, it's really expensive to get rid of a piano once you no longer want it. And I guess I'd be concerned about the ongoing costs of maintenance for it, because it's, if we can't afford to maintain it, then we've got, kind of a big piece of equipment that will be difficult for us to move. Like when we test out like the online subscriptions, if it doesn't work, you just stop paying and it kind of goes away. And pianos don't disappear when you don't want them anymore. So that's my biggest concern. And I would like to see more of a plan on what we would do with it and the benefits it would provide the library.
So does someone want to investigate this and report back?
I can do some work on this, Marguerite, and get back to
Alright.
the board.
I know the senior center has a piano and they use it just about every day, but we're not the senior center.
I would also maybe get in touch with tuners and see, because when pianos are moved, first of all, they're really expensive to move if it's done right, because you can totally screw them up. And then, because my mother-in-law wanted to get us a piano, so I've looked into all of this, and that's why we don't have one. And then the tuning with the appropriate person can get expensive. And then if you're having people apparently who don't know what they're doing, it needs to be tuned more often, and because the way they handle the keys and bang and things like that. So I think it could end up being a money pit. Plus,
Well,
the idea of it in the upstate.
as a person who's owned several pianos, you just have to keep the bangers away from it.
Good luck.
You
Well,
just
why don't I
lock
I
the
will get-
lid, play it at night.
I will get back to the resident who offered this, and I will thank them for their offer. But I will say the board had some concerns. I think asking for like what Kim Regan just requested is coming up with a plan for exactly how it could be utilized and what the benefit for the library is something I can potentially bring back to the next meeting. I don't know if there's a time frame. I don't know if this is like a limited time offer. If we don't have time to discuss it in the next meeting, that might be a factor. So
Well, if this one doesn't work out, we can always ask for Janet's.
I was gonna say, I'm sure there are many people trying to get rid of, I've seen them actually on and all
honestly,
the places.
before
you just said this, so the resident also offered to pay to deliver it to us. I'll say that too. So delivery was gonna be paid for, and I think it's just under $500. So it's not an insignificant amount of money there. But if you were, I didn't even think about other people asking us to donate pianos. So that if you're concerned about floodgates of requests or other equipment that this might open the door to, I think that's a valid concern that I honestly hadn't considered. So.
Did Mr. Stewart volunteer to pay for the tuning after it was moved by any chance?
No.
Hey, we're being hacked
Yeah,
The
Yeah.
person's already gone. So,
from Nick to everyone. Did you
Yeah.
get that one?
Yes.
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, God, people have nothing to do with their time. Oh, well, okay, so piano waiting for more information, right?
Yeah,
Okay, all righty, that's good. And what else in the director's report, Ryan?
that's it. I think that's all I have to report.
Okay, that's good. All right, moving right along. How about the expense report?
We're good right now. I don't have
Okay.
anything other. I wanted to note, I think I noted in the director's report, we
Mhm.
paid most of the annual bills, which normally doesn't get done. It gets done in the first 6 months. I tried to get it
Mhm.
all done in the first month for you, to give you an idea of how much we have left.
All right, so do we have questions from the board? It looks under control to me. All right, good. Excellent. All right, how about now the town building mask mandate? Ryan?
Okay, so on August 18th, the selectmen at around 11:30 at night discussed a mask mandate for all town buildings. So they put that into effect. They voted 3-2 to pass it. This is one of those things where you just have to note that even though we're a town building, you as an elected board have the authority over the building on policy. So the selectmen can vote a policy in for town buildings, but they actually have to have you as an elected board accept that policy. So Marguerite and I briefly met with the chair of the selectmen, Lisa Braccio, to have a very quick discussion about my concerns on this being enforced. Because we do have people who, we ask people to come in with masks, but we don't require it. Also, if we do require it, what exactly will be the enforcement policy for if the people don't comply with the policy? Do we ask them to leave? Do we call the police if they refuse? These are things that we discussed last year in a couple different meetings. I don't think it's good to put our staff in a confrontational situation about this. We've done our best at trying to make the library as safe as possible. I do ask the staff, we weren't for probably about a month, but we are again engaging with patrons. If they don't have a mask, we let them know that masks are available and we let them know that masks are strongly encouraged. If the patron is going to refuse to wear it.
Does the staff have to take care of a patron who's purposely not wearing a mask, or can they basically
Yeah.
say, I'm not gonna
We
deal
do
with
not
you,"
refuse service to anybody coming in.
even if they're unmasked? Okay.
Correct.
And as I remember, what Lisa said was basically, there's a confrontation is the last thing we want to have.
So there are notices that we've gotten from the town. They gave us signs that say masks are required. I'm happy to put these signs up. I took them down because the 5 minutes after we put it in, somebody asked us about it. So we have alternate masks up that say masks are strongly encouraged. And then we ended up purchasing masks because we didn't have any to make available to the public. We do again, I can tell you, facilities gave us, I think 200, and then we bought 400. So we have a stash of about 600 now.
Are they coming out of CARES money?
No, they came out of our budget.
It could come out of CARES money. Next time.
So CARES money, Marguerite, is a reimbursement-based thing that has to go through the town accountant. So
But
that's
doesn't John Parent have a whole slew that he's purchased? Through
yes,
CARES?
the ones provided by John are probably coming out of CARES money.
We're just
But
saying.
he didn't have more than 200 he could provide us initially.
Okay,
So I can try to see if he can continue to maintain a supply for us.
that'd
So
be,
what
I
are
mean,
the other town buildings doing with the requirement?
I have not gotten a chance to talk to Pam at the senior center. I know there was a lot of confusion the Wednesday after the meeting about it. I don't believe they're refusing service to seniors who are not complying either. I think they're asking people to do it, but I would have to double check on that, Amy.
I was just curious. Yeah.
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know.
it's a good question. I
The
think,
townhouse, I believe the townhouse is asking people to put them on. I don't know that they're refusing service if people don't wear them.
well, we get the senior center and the library get the most public traffic, right?
I would say probably the library does.
Yeah,
And probably with the most susceptible groups too, because the younger ones that aren't vaccinated, and then the older,
right.
more susceptible people.
I can tell you a majority of the patrons are complying with wearing masks. And almost everybody does when we ask them to put them on.
So I suggest putting the signs up, more of the
Okay.
same, and just assuming that people with good sense will mask.
Okay. So I will
My
put up the
sense, that's just
signs.
me, that's my sense of it, yeah.
I will put up the signs that masks are required, but I just want you to know that we're
Yeah.
gonna have patrons that come in who may not have masks on, and then I don't want to refuse service to those people.
All right,
But we will continue to engage with patrons politely and respectfully.
Yeah.
Let them know that we're asking all people in town buildings to wear masks right now. And that's good through September. That was what the selectmen passed. So it's through the end of September. And then they're going to reevaluate that policy.
I find the calling the police quite draconian. I'd really like to think that that would never happen unless there were something, almost physically involving you or a staff member.
Yeah, like a dangerous or a criminal situation, David,
Yeah.
is when I would like to do it. And I just don't, while the safety of the staff and the safety of patrons coming in is very important to me. I also, this was a factor when we reopened, is that I knew we were going to kind of be in this spot. And I think asking people to put it on is the best we can do.
right. I think patrons have been pretty good about that, so let's just proceed with putting the sign up.
Could I say one thing? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I think that actually people coming in without a mask is putting people in danger. It's not physical, like they're attacking things, but I think children who are coming in there without vaccines, which they can't get, we're putting them at risk. I would suggest to people that that you might have to evacuate vulnerable populations if they're refusing to put a mask on. I think it's a big deal.
That's why it's on our agenda, Janet.
Yeah.
It's worth discussing, and I'm hoping that by adding the signs that the town gave us, now that we've had this discussion, that will encourage additional mask use. I can tell you that providing masks to the public really upped the number of people who are doing it. So I think that is kind of a key piece to this, is that as long as we have masks we can give patrons, we're going to find that a majority of them are going to put them on, because we have had people who literally say, I forgot, or I came here last week and I didn't have to. And we're like, well, we always say you don't have to, but we are really recommending we let them know that the staff is doing it as well. And I think the patrons seeing all of the staff having them on also had a great effect on this.
Have you
And
seen
also-
any no maskers?
Have I seen people coming into the library wearing no masks? Yes.
Well, we all went through that phase of, it looked like very safe and we took our masks off, and it's, you have to get back with the program again, put them back on.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I suggest putting the signs up, speaking to people who aren't doing it, and getting a box of masks there at the door and some hand sanitizer. And what else can we do?
Yeah, we never took the hand sanitizer away.
Right.
So we have a little welcome station, and then we have masks also at all the desks.
Yeah.
So I think we're good. I'm gonna put up the masks are required signs this afternoon when I get in.
Yes, here we
Okay.
go. Round 3, round 4.
Yeah, Brian, for people who really prefer not to wear a mask, can you offer something else to them to say, like, you're welcome to wait outside and we can, check out your book for you and bring it out to you, or,
Yeah,
do we have any-
we are still actively offering curbside pickup, and we do let people know that is an option. We do it every day. We're open.
Okay.
That's a
So
good idea.
I
Kim.
will let them know that is a good idea, Kim. I will mention that to the people who maybe have a concern about putting them on.
Okay, can we move on to the collection management policy?
Yeah, so I sent you what our current policy is. What I would like to do very quickly is solicit a volunteer. It can be more than one volunteer on starting to update this policy. This is the one policy that we're required by statute in MBLC to have. And I also want it to include the potential if somebody objects to a book in the library's collection. So
Mhm.
some of the example policies on MLS include language to that effect. There is a sentence in the policy that's confusing to me about how the staff select the book, but then the trustees approve the selections. So we do have you sign off on the bills, but that isn't an individual itemization of approving books that go into the collection. So I would just say, I don't know if the intention of that line was on that the trustees sign off on the bills, or I think that sentence was getting towards what happens if there's an objection to the book, that it would go to the board in that case. But I would just say, I think there needs to be a development of some better language there. I think there needs to be what happens if a book gets challenged, and then it needs to be brought back to the board for you to have a discussion.
All right,
And
would it-
then, yeah,
Would anyone like to assist Ryan with that editing?
I'll volunteer for
I
that.
will.
I think we can have more than one trustee in the editorial phase, because this has to get brought back to the board and then it's going to have to get approved. And I think all of you should have an opinion on this, because
so-
it's a pretty important policy for us.
Yeah, it is. So then Jane and David, you're both okay with working with Ryan on this, on the edits to the current policy?
Yeah.
I'm good with
Janet,
that.
did you want to also help? Janet?
I don't know whether
No.
you need that many fingers in the pot, but if you need help, I'm more than willing, but you know.
That
It doesn't
particular
sound like-
sentence, Ryan, is that missing a word or something? The sentence that refers to the
Yeah,
library.
it
board of
doesn't seem like
trustees?
it's a full sentence. So I don't know what, honestly, it looks like a typo, but that was what we had
Yes.
in the policy.
So why don't you guys
So-
set up a time that you can all meet together and sit down and hash it out?
I will say
outside of-
that I think that the bones of that is good. That one sentence is the only thing that got me really head scratchy. And I would just say, if there should be some sort of phrase in there that if a book gets challenged by a member of the public, that
Which
needs
has
to-
actually
that-
happened. Oh my, I know.
It just needs
Okay.
to be added in.
All
So,
right. So good. All right. So you outside of the meeting, you can set up when you're gonna
Yeah.
meet to discuss it.
Okay.
Okay, good.
and then that'll be brought, but the edited version will be brought back to the board. And then there'll be a discussion, and then this might take a couple meetings, just to warn you guys.
All right, that's good. Okay, how about if we can move on to topic number 6, the volunteer policy and or the Corey policy, which is probably part of the volunteer policy. Kim suggested putting this in as a separate agenda item. And Kim, I guess, could you speak to where you are in terms of the volunteer / parentheses Corey situation?
Yeah, just based off of our last meeting, it was kind of brought to everyone's attention that we have a policy for who gets quarried for programs that occur inside the library building, but that did not necessarily apply to activities and programs that occur on our grounds outside. So, I mean, I think it was good for us to know that the policy does not cover both. And I think that this is something we should evaluate to determine whether we want our policy to be the same for inside or versus outside on the grounds. And I think in the last meeting, it seemed like there was just a lot of confusion on who should be quarried and when. And I think it just would behoove us if we had a formal volunteer policy that outlined when a quarry was needed and any other legal details like that. So I think this is something that we should probably consult with the town's legal counsel on, and also to consult with what the schools are doing. I think that, you know, for quarries, if we're looking at making sure we protect children, I think, is it under the age of 18, that it would make sense to understand what the schools are doing and whether we want that to influence how we deal with our volunteers.
Good. So are you, God, is that me? Yes, it's
Everybody's
me, and I
going.
can't stop it because my phone is connected to my computer. Sorry.
Okay, is it Marguerite, can I just mute you and then you can give me
Yes,
the
thank
thumbs
you.
up? So Kim, just to take a step back, we don't have any volunteer policy officially. So I think a development of a policy that includes when to query volunteers is the way to go. And I think making a distinction that, like, is there a difference between outside and inside? Marguerite also has brought up, we don't query check people who provide programs to the library. I don't know how complicated that would be. I can tell you, we've kind of discussed this, and a programmer is always with a staff member. Like Kim is always with the children's programmer, and I am typically always with an adult programmer. But volunteers, we don't sort of monitor in that, because they're not only there for a couple hours, right, providing a program that we would have to count statistics for. So I think there needs to be some qualifications on exactly, how we qualify a volunteer, what counts as sort of like an ongoing volunteer project that we would put into place, and then to kind of set what the query restrictions would be. So, I mean, if it's okay, I'd like to work a little bit with Kim on this, but I know we've talked about already having you follow up with the schools, which I think is a great idea, because I'd like to try to be consistent with what the schools are doing as much as possible.
And I'd like to also, thank you for bearing with me on the phone ring. I would like also to say that this volunteer policy and the Corey decision, whatever it ends up being, is going to be for the future. And what's happening right now in the library, the volunteers that we have right now, for instance, with the native plant garden, this will not apply to them. In my opinion, they are grandfathered. So I don't think that any of this will be retroactively applied to the native plant garden activities at this point.
I think by the time we pass a policy for the board, the native plant garden project, the planning is going to be complete.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
because I think the planning is projected to be done in the next couple of weeks, and we're probably not meeting again until mid-September.
Right. I just
about
wanted
this,
to clarify
you know.
that one point.
Right.
Right.
But I
Well,
think
I think-
Kim's right, is that it shouldn't be confusion about who gets Corey checked and who doesn't.
Doesn't,
Like,
yeah.
it's either the rule or we either are doing it for everybody or we're not, right?
Yeah.
I think
Right.
that
We need a
setting
policy.
that as a policy would be
Yeah.
a good
We
rule of
need a
thumb
policy.
moving
So
forward. Yeah.
go ahead,
It
Janet.
also depends on what kind of program it is. If every child there is supervised by a parent or another adult, then that's a different kind of program than when a person is alone with children without their parental guide. So, as long as we deal with that, I don't think the library issue would ever come up. Nobody's just sending their kids. Well, except for
Right, but
the
it could be a
school.
16-year-old too. That's the
Yeah,
other
the
part.
current.
A lot of the tween
folks from the-
programs too, same thing.
Right.
They come without kids or without parents, they get dropped off.
So this is a fertile field, obviously. Who, besides Kim, is interested in working
work
to
with
develop
Kim.
the policy?
Okay, I'd be
Okay.
happy to too.
Okay, so is that a good trio? Anybody else? Looks good to me. Okay, thank you. That'll be,
And I
Are
should
Girl
note that
Scout leaders and Boy Scout leaders quarried? We must have been. right?
Definitely.
They
yeah, a
cord
lot of good that
I've
everyone.
did,
signed
right?
so many of those forms through the years. You don't remember which things they were for.
honestly,
Everything
apparently
you
we're
do
one
with
of the
kids
only
that you're
people,
quarried and sorried, everything.
we're one of the only groups and organizations that gets not doing it as
Mhm.
a rule. So maybe
Yeah.
we should get on board, I think is the,
Okay,
so I think a lot of people, like has been noted in the last meeting, are used to this as a rule. So it's
Right.
not a surprise to most people
Well,
to get
any
it done.
parent is used to it. I
Yeah,
mean,
Right.
if you
so-
send your
But I think some
children
of the
to
folks
school,
involved in the gardens are not parents. And this
Right,
is brand
and
new
I think
territory
that's-
to them.
I think that's why it was so shocking, because for the rest of us who actually send children through the school system, it was just,
Corys are
know,
coming out
what-
of your ears. Of course, but the Southborough gardeners, do they get Coreyed? There's another.
They're
Not working with
adults.
children.
Well, they're not
working with children, and they're also working within their own group.
But they're also on the grounds when there are children there.
But they're not working with children.
Supervising children. as volunteers.
They're not-
So
You-
so the supervisor, well, never mind. I'll let you lovely
No,
ladies.
I'm
Okay.
just saying,
Because
you're
it's like-
already
it's like this
debating a
ball of
non-existent
worms.
policy. So
Right.
there's gonna be policy written, there's gonna be a draft of something
Yeah.
to review, and
Yeah.
then you can have a discussion based on that. I would just say, don't do it when it's an abstract concept, but I
Right.
think this conversation is helpful for the people who are gonna be working on it. And
Ryan,
I'm-
I think it would be, I think it would
Yeah.
be helpful for us to get from you what has been going on in terms of who you have been querying and what kind of just guidelines you've been going through. I know you mentioned we don't have an actual volunteer policy, but if you can let us know generally what's been done with volunteers in the past, that would be helpful.
Yep,
Can
And
I
and
just
Jay
bring up-
Kellerman, I think would be good to talk to.
Can I just bring up something? For this group doing this, and there was another group set up too. If we do it the way we just talked about setting them up, then we're gonna have to take minutes and post the meetings in advance and all that. If
Because it's a
one per-
subcommittee, right?
Right. If one person takes charge and just sends it out for feedback, that's different. So we might want to go that route versus having to post the meetings and all that.
Oh, that's a good point, Jen. It would be
If-
open meeting law, right?
it honestly might be better because the whole board is gonna have to review any policy anyway. So I think if we designate one trustee to work with me on a policy, we're not breaking any rules, is my understanding, Janet.
Yeah.
We have had
Open
like,
meeting law doesn't refer to Ryan at all. Ryan can meet with anybody
Right.
because he's an employee.
yeah, and I think if for the purposes of editing a document and bringing it back to the board, that the board is then gonna review, I think works better. I think initially, I would just recommend that you guys can decide whatever you want to decide, is that I should work with Kim Regan. She was the one who put
Makes
this on the agenda. I think it makes sense to start there. For the collection development policy, I know Jane wants to work on that. And we've talked about this before, so I'm happy to work with Jane on that one and then bring it back. I will say David is very helpful once he has a draft of something in editing it for making sure that the sentences are actual sentences and that the grammar all works and that we're not writing something that makes no sense. So I think when we get to the editorial phase, if you're okay with this, David, is
That's fine.
giving you the policy and then editing it once we're ready to go in a meeting, and then we have those notes and we're ready to go.
Tim Litt has just pointed out in the chat, I don't know if everybody can see it, 2 people is less than a quorum, which would be Jane and David, less than a quorum if they want to work on the collection policy, but 3 is where you run into open meeting law. Thank you,
That's a good
Tim.
point.
So if we have 2 people, then Jane and David are okay, but if we have 3 working on the volunteer policy, then that's gonna require the dreaded minutes.
There are 6 of you, so 4 is a quorum for the purposes of here. But Janet, it might make sense for us to talk to Jim exactly what we can and can't do. I don't want people to think that we're doing things in silos and then not bringing things back to the rest of the board for review and for feedback. So the main thing to emphasize here is that if you guys want to get something done quickly, we're going to have a lot of meetings about it. If we're going to parse it out to once a month, we just need to keep at it until we're at the final stage of approval and you guys take a vote. So I know doing policies is hard when on the books you have 12 meetings a year, but it's something that I think if I work with one individual trustee and then we have something ready to go, we can have a discussion, one meeting, and then hopefully bring it back in a 3rd meeting and approve.
Okay, so
Does that
what
sound
I'm
good?
hearing is it
Okay.
okay with you, Amy and Janet, if Kim and Ryan hammer this out and then we get it?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Really fine.
And where are we leaving the collection policy? Is that still gonna be Jane and David? Yes, okay, good, just clarifying. Good. Sounds like progress. Okay, the number 7, the town ADA study, which as we've all read, seeing that every wash basin in town is either 3 inches too high or 3 inches too low. Every doorknob's on the wrong side, and you can't get into the library anyway with the automatic door opener because it's on the wrong side. We are very, very needing help on this. So Ryan, can you speak to?
Very quickly to close this out, because I think it's been tabled a couple times, is that John Parent and I have had a discussion about this. John is looking at what short-term improvements he can make to the buildings in order to comply with the study. It was also noted to me by the selectmen that the study that you were sent is a draft. So there was no, I don't even think that this was given to the ADA committee prior to it being presented at the selectmen meeting. So there was a little confusion about the communication of this. I will also say the library did pretty well, all things considered. Obviously, there are things that we can improve. There's always things we can improve, guys, and we're committed to improving. We're a dynamic institution that is always striving to be better. John and I have really worked on the facility in the past several years to try to get things as up to ADA compliance as we can. And we had an eye for that when the remediation after the flood happened, where we really tried as best to configure our downstairs space to be as compliant as possible. Part of that was building the wall in Eaton. That actually helped with ADA compliance. That would have been something that was on this report if it hadn't been completed. So I honestly, I just wanted to make you aware of the recommendations. John said he will talk to me and then I will talk to you if there's anything that we need to update you on or inform you about, or if there's a substantial change in something that's going to affect operations. So if it's like something we have to shut down for.
That, I think
To
that's,
do a repair, I should
I
say,
think
to
that's, yeah,
update the water fountains. I know the water fountains were kind of a big one, I think for
right.
me. So, that's something where also John and I are kind of weighing the report. Does it make sense to spend thousands of dollars to upgrade a water fountain, or does it make sense to not have a water fountain? Those are the questions that are going to be considered as part of this.
So what I'm hearing, and I've got my eye on the time here too, because I think, Kim, you have to leave at 12:20, right? Am I right? Yes. Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you and John Parent are dealing with this, and if anything comes up, you'll let us know. Is that correct?
Yes. Is there any concerns you at this point would like me to pass along to John?
No, we just hope that
Okay.
it doesn't drive him completely around the bend to have all these things that he has to be doing.
Yeah,
Okay.
John also isn't, I would say John is less concerned about the library than he is about some of the other facilities
All right.
that had a lot more on the list. So just, John is one department head with a limited staff, and he's doing his best at trying to get as much of the recommendations updated as possible. So.
Okay, that's good. So can I ask the capital planning memorandum discussion, as I understand it, this is a policy that the selectmen passed, and it has to do with how we would ask for capital items. But I think we have two other items today that I'd like to get to first, if I could, so that when we have the 12:20, which is in what, 10 and some minutes, we've covered, I'd like to talk about the native plant garden, and I'd like to talk about the preservation restriction, if I could first. And then the capital planning memorandum discussion is simply the policy that we have to use for our long-term capital projects. And I think it's a longish discussion. So maybe I'd be happy putting it off until next meeting.
I think we can get to everything in the next 10 minutes, Marguerite.
All right, so
I'm committed.
Let's go to native, let's go to
Let's
native
do
plant
native
garden.
plant
Can we do
garden.
that? All right, let's go to native plant garden. Can we do that? Jane, can you update us?
I know that it's planted and it looks great, and we use the volunteers from a landscaping company, and if you've been over there, you'll see how beautiful the stone wall is and the culvert, and they put plants. I don't know what they are, but they're down in the middle. Ryan, you're more on the scene. You can help me here.
I think things have been progressing great. I know that Freddie has been in communication with me about the billing. We've received a couple bills, but not all of them yet. I think they're planning on kind of submitting everything in the next, it looks like before we gave them a September 10th deadline, so we could get everything into the state for the report by the end of that month. So honestly, I think we're in good shape. I don't think there's a lot to say. Other than, we're just waiting on the final bills. And then all of the things that we talked about in the prior meeting, the July meeting, about advertising helping them try to get volunteers to plant. We did that. We put something out in the newsletter. We had something up on the website, and we put stuff out on social media. And then we also did the same when the volunteers came for the Riverside. So, you know, we've tried to help them as much as we can. I think it's up to them with planning now and getting everything in. And then, you know, Sarah and Freddie can communicate to Jane and I if they need anything on our end.
I'd like to say a huge thank you to Freddie and to Sarah and to the rest of the open space people for making this happen. It's gone from a piece of lawn to an actual beautiful event over there. And I think that there was a lot of hard work that went on. So
I know there were a lot of discussions and a lot of miscommunications early on, but I think all of the time and energy we spent on trying to help the OSPC make this happen has paid off. I think it looks great. I think it's going to be a great addition to the community. So I would echo what Marguerite said and thank them for everything they did.
yes, many thank yous to open space for this, and looking forward to see what it looks like as the seasons change too, and it comes into flower. Okay, can we talk about the preservation restriction?
Okay, so very quickly, we had a pending request in with the prior town council on following up with Michael Steinitz from the Massachusetts Historic Commission to see if MHC would hold the preservation restriction. I believe what we have to do now is I forwarded you guys that legal request form that we use to you know, submit legal requests, which we're probably going to do with the Corey. But I need to know if you want me to use that form to basically ask our new town council to follow up on what our prior town council was doing and reach out to Mr. Steinitz. So I just want to make the board aware of this. And then that was my plan currently, is to follow up with there and see if Mr. Tallerman can get in touch with Mr. Steinitz.
Could I
Yeah,
have,
that makes sense.
Amy, okay, so you're in favor. Janet, what do you think?
The only question, I agree with that part, but the question I had is, I thought that when you submitted all the information that Steinitz had requested, it seemed to me that he would get back to you, but he hasn't. Have you followed up with him to just ask?
So that's what we're waiting on. And Mr. Cipriano was actively like in touch with him, trying to get him to respond. So
because the last communication was, it's front and center on his desk, we should be hearing soon, and that was May, I think.
Yeah, so that didn't happen. So I think at this point it makes sense to engage with our new town council about it. I think it would be helpful, Janet, because I know you were involved a lot in you know, helping me keep the construction meetings going back then, is you know, this is something that you've done your own independent research on, and there are the potential for office hours with the new town council. I think he's been trying to get to meet everybody. I have spoken with him very briefly about the PR issue, and what I would like is to see if Janet and I can find a time that works for both of us to just have a conversation with him about the best step forward.
No, that sounds good.
Making sure
I think we
that's
should
okay with the
probably
rest of
fill
the
out
board.
one of those forms too, just to,
Right.
because doesn't Mark Purple have to approve every one meeting with town council?
And Mark is aware we need to follow up with town council about this. So, because this has been a pending issue for a while.
So as I recall from, I don't remember where I heard it, but it could have been Ryan, when Jay Tellerman was asked about this, he said off the top of his head, there was a possibility of amending the deed with a sentence that included a preservation restriction stipulation, and that would be sufficient to meet the needs of a preservation restriction. So one other option, aside from the $100,000 to Mass Historical or whatever it is to check out adding that language to the deed, which wouldn't be very expensive. And
Marguerite,
accomplish the same thing. But I don't know.
Let's review all options, potential options. I don't want to say what the town the town attorney said he was doing his best to try to understand the issue.
He
When
had
I
not
came
read,
to
he had not
him-
read the warrant article,
He had
right? but
not
I
read,
think
and
there's
he
another
had to
option, yeah.
review several things
Yep.
before he sort of, he hasn't given us an official opinion
Yes,
at
no, I
any point.
understand that.
So I
Okay.
need to make that clear in the meeting, is that
Yep.
he hasn't opined on it yet. I think having Janet and I go talk to him,
Mhm.
we need to kind of see if we get an official opinion from him. I think that the first step is having Janet and I talk to him.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Also, the other part is not hearing back from Steinitz, to me, is like you've heard back from Steinitz and it's sort
Yeah.
of, no.
No. Yeah. I think there are other questions too. I mean, the questions arisen as to whether or not if we get a reservation in writing, whether we have to go back to town meeting to get that approved. You know, we were
I also
told one
don't, I
thing.
don't at one
one.
point know when it became a preservation restriction, and we weren't talking about a partial preservation restriction, because we only
Right.
did part of the building with CPA
Yeah.
money. So
Well,
I
I
think
think it-
that needs,
yeah.
that is something I'd also like to re-engage the conversation on.
Yeah.
Because
get
there
the
wasn't
warrant
an
article.
investment.
Outstanding questions. Yeah.
There
I
wasn't
think
an
the warrant
investment in the back
article
of the
calls it
building.
a preservation restriction. It doesn't use the word partial.
And town capital money helped pay for the roof, because of a lot of the roof was on the addition. So
Right.
I'm just saying there's a lot of people are saying, well, the townhouse has to get a preservation restriction. Maybe these two things are similar. Because the townhouse is going to be renovated in the next year with CPA money. I don't think it's the same situation, because our building was it was a much smaller project, and it was a more unique situation. So
Yeah.
that is something I think we can engage with our new town council on, and we can get additional feedback from him on.
Yep.
Janet, thank you for taking on this giant tangle.
Okay.
Are you sure you want to?
Oh, I'm in it. I'm in it to win it now.
She's
Okay,
rolling up her sleeves right now, right?
as far as the capital planning memorandum, really what I wanted to do was make you aware of this, especially since the library works very closely with the facilities department. And we hope as the IT department is expanded, that we can expand that collaboration with IT. So this is the process that facilities and IT are going to be doing in order to place a capital request that's over $10,000. What has historically happened with the library is if we have a smaller capital request, and I'll say things like the end caps we did on the bookshelves upstairs, the screen, the electronic screen that comes down upstairs, these were all projects that were under $5,000. So they wouldn't even be considered a capital project. But if there's something big that we want to do that's long-term planning, this is kind of the process that the capital planning committee has established for town departments. So we don't have, I'm not aware in this point if there's anything that we have as far as a pending capital request. We've
Yeah,
really
we
done
do.
okay, other than the possible design study for the eventual renovation of the library. Other than that,
Right.
so I'm just making you aware of it. I will also say there is, I have to call back today, a space planner named Ken Best, who I believe was hired by the capital planning committee. He works with a firm on doing, he's been interviewing town departments about what their needs are. So I'm happy to talk with him. I think he wants to come and do a site visit for the library. I don't know how you guys want to do this, but Marguerite has been on the board the longest, and I think has a lot of historical knowledge about the building. She was involved in some of the initial stuff we did when we initially applied to CPA for the facade restoration. But I know a lot of people have interest in the building, so I don't want to cut anybody out, but really, he's not talking to a lot of board and committee people. He's talking a lot with the department heads. I want to make you aware that I'm having that conversation with him. And then I don't know if you would like to have a trustee present as part of that.
You know what I would love? I would love if every trustee on the board could just shoot a quick email to me and or Ryan, just saying, if for a wish list, what do you wish that the library had that it doesn't? More meeting rooms, closed places where people can tutor. There's just, I can think of dozens of things that I wish the library had. And if if you have thoughts about that, it would just be great if you could email them to me or to Ryan, and then we'd have them on hand, because I can think of certain things.
Why don't we make it specifically to Ryan, so that we're not getting into any OML issues, right?
Okay, so send it.
I'm happy to
good.
pass those along.
Right,
to
send it
Mr.
to Ryan.
Best.
I'm gonna do the same thing, and maybe that would be useful to take when you see him, because yes, we need meeting rooms with the doors that close. We need tutoring rooms with doors that close, so that people can go in and work one-on-one and they don't have to do it in the reading room. We need a lot more stack space. We've had to weed our collections when there were, books that we don't have room for, but they're perfectly fine books and they have to go. So I think we need twice as much stack space as we've got.
What I've explained to Mr. Best too is that since I've been here, the library has done 2 strategic plans, and elements of the building and what people want from the library are always parts of those plans, if not the most important part of that plan. So I think he's reviewing those documents. I sent it to him so that he can see where public feedback was. I'll also note that in a design study and a potential renovation, part of what we need is community input as part of that project. If we want to apply for state funding for it, if we want to apply for the MBLC construction grants. So elements of not only what you as the board would like to see, but elements we'd have to get input from the community in the same way we do as part of our regular survey call, and then as part of the strategic planning process. So all of that kind of factors into this. I don't know if a trustee would like to come with me for the purposes of sort of reporting back to the board. I'm also happy to do it. I wanted to make you aware of the fact that Capital is paying for a consultant, and I've already had a preliminary conversation with him where I've talked about the long-term plan to at least explore the potential to renovate and expand.
Yeah. I think, I mean, if no other trustee wants to do it, I'm glad to do it. For instance, I think we've been turning away people who want to use the meeting room since I've been in town. If we had 4 meeting rooms, we could fill them every night of the week. There's entities that we
Well,
just say, sorry, we don't have the space. Now we have 1 meeting room, which is the Eaton room. We used to have
Right.
2, now we got 1.
Except
do
that
you
they have to
think,
leave by 9, which is tough.
Yes, but even so, there are so many groups that don't meet here because there's no space for them.
I actually like it when they leave earlier than that so we can close the building on time.
Right, I know. Yeah, the nagger stands at the doorway and says, okay, 10 more minutes.
We're turning out the lights, everybody.
I'm comfortable with that in my job description, so sorry.
Bouncer, right? Anyway, so yeah, I think studies would be good. Our thoughts on, because sometimes we get so used to the cramped amount of space we have, we don't realize what we should be wishing for, We have 1 meeting room.
Right.
It's pathetic.
Oh,
It's not just that, it's I've said this before, we literally run out of space to put books. We have to take books out of our collection to put books in.
Right.
So that is not a long-term feasible way to maintain the library's collection.
Yeah,
So
we need
that
our
right
collection. We throw out all these books that we bought 2 years ago because there's no room for them. It's
So
really,
that we don't, it's not as dramatic as Marguerite just said, but I will say.
I know, I worked on a weeding
Yeah,
once. I worked on a weed and I was horrified.
Yeah, we can't
What left?
long-term,
Right.
we can't long-term keep books in. We have to, like, one of our staff members just looked for a copy of The Goldfinch, and we didn't have any physical copies in the collection because we had to weed the other copies out. So we couldn't fit them. So that.
God, send
that
them to
gives
me.
you-
I've got everything.
Yeah. So do we just want me to do it? Is that what the board's looking to do? Does somebody want to come
Unless
with
you want
me?
support, but otherwise.
Okay, I'll do it then. I'll call him, and I think it'll be easier probably time frame to coordinate with him. And I feel like everybody got a lot of homework this meeting, right? So what I'll do is I'll report back on our conversation in the director's report next month. Does that sound good?
Mhm.
Okay. That's, I think, it for me. I think we covered a lot of ground in an hour and 23 minutes. So,
We just lost Marguerite.
yeah.
Oh,
I apologize to
guys-
you all. I apologize to you all for being 30 minutes late. I was struggling here. I finally had to turn my computer over to a remote technician to get connected with Zoom. I don't know what the heck happened, but I apologize.
Does somebody want a motion to adjourn?
Pardon me?
I moved
Do we
to
have,
adjourn the meeting.
do we have a quorum anymore?
Yep, you
Yeah,
have.
I guess we
four.
have four.
There's
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
four,
Four.
yeah.
Okay. Did you move to adjourn?
I moved to
A second.
adjourn the meeting. All those in favor? Davis, aye.
David, I, yes.
David.
Janet Maney, aye.
Maney. Yes,
Yes,
Donnie.
Donnie, I.
Okay, so the meeting is adjourned at 12:24.
I will be in touch with all of you about the next meeting date. We probably will have a meeting. We might have a meeting earlier, but the next meeting for you guys, if we follow the same scheme, would be September 21st at 11 in the morning. So I'll probably schedule a meeting for then. And then if we need to meet earlier than that, I will be in touch.
Okay.
Does that
Sounds
sound good?
Yep.
Okay.
And Ryan,
can
get
you-
together with the attorney and stuff. After this week, I'm wide open.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I know you have a lot going on, Janet. So it's.
no, I've got a pause in the action. I think we're good.
Jane, can you hang on for a second with your calendar? We can find a time where we can put our heads together.
Sure, yes, that,
I've got my
Okay.
calendar out.
Bye.
Bye, Janet. Have a good trip.
bye.
Thanks.
It looks beautiful there.
Oh, it is. It's really hot though.
Sorry.
And needless to say, we need to find a time that works for Ryan as well.
Yeah, I can stay on for a minute
So-
only because if I close, the meeting will end. So you guys are stuck with me for a few minutes.
It would be best if we did it after Labor Day, if that's okay. My son's getting married on the 3rd of September, so I'm a little busy between now and that.
I would think.
But after that, I'll
So-
probably have nothing to do.
So the week, you're talking about the week of the 6th, which starts on the
Yes.
7th.
Yeah,
I'm kind of wide open except for a doctor's appointment on that Tuesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday that week, 8, 9, or 10 works for me, if that works for you. And we'll cycle back to Ryan.
yeah, Ryan, oh, he's gone.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. So no Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday would be good.
Ryan's back.
Yeah,
Ryan, what about,
Marguerite's computer froze. So she was just calling me to ask if the whole meeting froze or it was just her. And I was like, it's just you. Okay, sorry, Jane.
could we meet Wednesday afternoon, September 8th sometime?
Yes.
Works for me. To work for you, Ryan?
Yes, let me get back to you about a specific time because I think I've already scheduled an interview for that day for some of the part-time people. So
Okay.
I just, Kim and I were gonna sit down tomorrow and iron out the initial interview schedule, but I have to call some people back, but I should have time in the afternoon to sit with you guys.
Okay. So just let us know.
So we're agreeing on Wednesday afternoon, the 8th, but with a time to be specified. Is that it?
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you can do it, I would say the later in the afternoon, probably the better.
Okay.
Okay,
You want to just arbitrarily pick a time now, like 4?
I don't think I scheduled anything at 4, so 4 should be fine. I think I
That work
asked
for you,
everybody to
Jane?
do it earlier.
yes, that's good.
Okay,
Excellent.
hopefully I have an office by then, but if not, we can meet in the teen room.
I'm sure you will. Okay, well, that sounds good. Good meeting.
Yeah, well, I told Marguerite, I said, we're gonna go quick this time because we have a lot to accomplish in a short amount of time. And then right now I gotta drive to work and get there and I'm already like a half an hour late. So, all right. Thank you
Okay, we'll
all.
see you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the 8th. I'm marking my calendar right now. And hey, congratulations to your son, Jane, and to you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
You've met Chris.
yeah. Kate told me it was happening, but it was, I think when we talked
Yeah.
about it, it was still months in the future. So
I know, it's here now, so
it
that's
sneaks
good.
up on
We're
you.
ready. A
Yeah.
lot of planning. Now we're ready. Let's go. Thank you.
All right, signing
have a
off.
good
Thank
week.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.